It did not begin with a war nor with a crown. It began with a kiss, a serpent's gift, a curse that fed on innocence and the silence of those who dared not speak. Telvora, where silence has a price. The reign of Zahak.
For 1,000 years, Zahak reigned upon the throne, a shadow of tyranny stretching over the land. The wisdom of sages faded, and the demons of Ahriman rejoiced in his dominion. Virtue was cast aside, and sorcery was exalted. From the house of Jamshid, 2 noble sisters, Arnawaz and Sharnaz, were torn from their home and brought before Zahak. He bent them to his will, teaching them the arts of dark enchantment, and made them his wives. Zahak's rule was a reign of terror. His hands knew only cruelty, plundering, burning, slaughtering the innocent. Each day, young men were dragged to the palace, their heads severed, their brains fed to the monstrous serpents that coiled upon his shoulders. Yet amidst this dark despair, 2 young men, Carmayel and Armayel, came before the Serpent King, offering their service as royal cooks. But they bore a secret intent. For every 2 young men condemned to die, they would save one. Mixing the brain of a lamb with that of the slain, they deceived the king and sent 30 young men each month into the mountains, giving them sheep and goats to tend. These fugitives became the ancestors of the Kurds, who, ever wary of tyranny, made their homes in the highlands, where no king's hand could reach. One night, Zahak lay sleeping beside Arnawaz and Sharnaz, when a vision, dark and fearsome, descended upon him. In his dream, a warrior of towering strength appeared, flanked by 2 mighty champions. The youth raised a great mace and struck him upon the brow. Before Zahak could rise, his hands were bound in unbreakable chains, and his captors dragged him to the towering heights of Mount Alborz, where he was cast into darkness. The vision wrenched him from sleep, his heart pounding with terror. He let out a cry so fierce that the palace trembled, and his wives awoke in alarm. "What did you see, my lord?" they asked, their voices trembling. Zahak sat up, his chest heaving. "A nightmare, a dreadful omen," he murmured. His wives sought to soothe him. "Who could rise against you? You are lord of all the world. None dare challenge your might." Yet their words did little to calm his fear. At the break of dawn, he summoned his astrologers and wise men, demanding the meaning of his vision. The scholars, trembling before him, asked for 3 days to divine the truth. When the appointed time arrived, they returned with ashen faces, dreading the wrath of the king. Zahak's voice thundered, "Speak! What fate do the heavens decree?" The eldest of them, a man named Zirak, stepped forward, his voice steady yet laced with fear. "A child has been born, O king, one who shall bring your downfall. His name is Faradin. He will be raised in the mountains, suckled by the milk of a celestial cow named Barmay. When he reaches manhood, the people will rally to his banner, and he shall rise against you. He will strike down your throne, cast you into chains, and imprison you in the depths of Damavand." Zahak's face darkened. "Who is this boy? Why does he bear me such hatred?" Zirak did not flinch. "His father shall perish by your decree, slain to feed the serpents upon your shoulders. And the cow that nourishes him, you shall slaughter her as well." Panic seized the Serpent King. He decreed that no newborn child should live, that all male infants should be torn from their mothers and slain upon birth. Across the land, the king's men scoured every village, seeking the prophesied child. In the shadow of dread, a noble man named Abtin, the father of Faradun, was seized and executed. But his wife, Franak, desperate to save her son, fled with him into the wilderness. Through hidden paths, she carried him to a verdant plain, where the celestial cow Barmay dwelled. There, beneath the open sky, the child was nourished by its milk, growing strong beyond the reach of Zahak's wrath. But spies of the king roamed far and wide. In time, word of the child reached Zahak's ears. He sent forth his men to find and slay the boy. Yet Franak, ever watchful, caught wind of their approach. She snatched up her son and fled to the towering heights of Mount Alborz, where she placed him in the care of a pious and wise hermit. Then, in a final act of defiance, she led the king's men astray. But Barmay, the celestial cow, could not be saved. Yet the child, whom fate had chosen, remained beyond his grasp. Years passed, and Farad'n grew into a mighty youth, his strength like the roaring storm. When he reached 16 years, he descended from the mountains, seeking his mother. Franak, weeping with joy, revealed to him the truth of his lineage. "You are the son of Abtin, of the noble house of Tamures, descended from kings," she told him. "It is written in the stars that you shall be Zahak's doom." Farad'n's heart burned with fury. "Then let it be so. I shall cast him down." But Franak, wise in years, placed a hand upon his shoulder. "Patience, my son. The time is near, but not yet come." Meanwhile, Zahak, haunted by prophecy, grew ever more desperate. He gathered the lords and nobles of the land and commanded them to sign a proclamation, declaring him a just and merciful king, a protector of his people. In fear of his wrath, they signed their names to the lie. But even as the ink dried, a voice of thunder shattered the silence. A lone figure strode forth, clad in the garb of a humble blacksmith. His eyes blazed with fury. He was Kava, the smith, a man whose sons had been taken, one by one, to feed Zahak's monstrous serpents. Now only one son remained, and the king's men had come for him. Zahak, for all his cruelty, felt a stir of pity and spared the boy. Then, turning to Kava, he bade him sign the proclamation of his righteousness. But Kava, his spirit unbroken, seized the parchment and tore it asunder. "I will bear no false witness," he cried. With righteous fury, he strode from the palace, lifting high his blacksmith's apron upon a spear, calling the people to rise. And they came, merchants and farmers, warriors and scholars, flocking to his side. The Kaviani banner was born, a symbol of defiance against tyranny. With an army gathered, Kaveh sought out Farad'n. He knelt before him, pledging his allegiance, and together they set forth toward Zahak's fortress. The rivers could not stop them, nor the fearsome guards. When they reached the gates, they stormed them with the fury of the heavens. But fate had played its hand. Zahak was absent, having gone east in search of his enemy. Farad'n seized the palace, breaking the spells that guarded it. He entered the king's chambers, where Arnawaz and Shahrnaz, bound by sorcery, awaited their fate. Yet when they beheld him, they knew that the darkness was ending. And so, when Zahak returned in the dead of night, expecting his kingdom to stand unchallenged, he found instead a usurper upon his throne. Farad'n, standing tall with his mighty mace, struck him down. Yet from the heavens the voice of Solush rang out. "His death has not yet come. Bind him and take him to Mount Damavand." Thus, Zahak was shackled and cast into the abyss, and Farad'n, with the light of justice, ascended the throne. The world was freed, and a new age had begun.
If you were one of the people, would you trust Farad'n after Zahak's fall? Or would fear still linger? When the serpent was chained and the land set free, it was not the end, only a new beginning. A king who ruled for centuries, a family born of his blood. 3 princes, 3 paths, and a single throne. But from love came envy, from honor, betrayal, and from spilled blood, a storm, a vengeance. The crown was won with justice, but will it survive blood?